Hello, and welcome back to the Bitch Why Are We Friends podcast. This is episode 18.
You can fuck us now. Our podcast. You can fuck our podcast.
Conceptually, it's still going to be challenging, but legally speaking, it's okay. And in Alberta and Quebec, this podcast can drink.
Exciting.
So
I'm drinking right now. I'm always drinking.
Right.
Coincidentally, that is not something I expected to be when I was little. I didn't think I was going to be a drinker because I thought that was gross.
So alcoholic was not on your list of future occupations?
No. And that's weird because I used to drink all the booze I found in people's houses.
How old were you?
I didn't put two and two together. I just thought, it was... So what is this episode about? We're jumping in here, but
we're just diving right in. Like people will be into this podcast now that it's legal.
Diving into our shattered dreams.
Yes, we are diving headlong, head fast, head first, whatever the expression is. I'm not drinking, by the way.
I prefer vagina first because if you jump in and do the splits, like you just gotta try it. Just try it.
I can't.
I'll be your lifeguard.
I can't do the splits.
Just do it as best you can.
Well, I definitely will still be feet first, though.
Okay. Well, okay, moving on.
Yeah, we should. This is an episode about our childhood dreams which, if you think about it, is kind of weird because who in their right mind dreams of having a job?
It's true, but it's so ingrained in us to have a job.
It is.
Yeah.
And I guess there are and have been children around the world who work. But for those of us who are particularly spoiled and privileged, that's not really something that we experience in childhood.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a question that kids get asked all the time. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah, it's actually kind of a weird question.
It's a super weird question.
I mean, especially like really, really young. I think the first thing I can ever remember wanting to be when I grew up was a dog. And my sister and I made my mom, fill up. I mean, so many kids have. They've eaten off the floor. They chewed on little chicken bones and stuff, pretending to be a dog. Tell me I'm not weird here. I know my sister did it too. So I know that at least one other person knows exactly what I'm talking about. But
my sister used to pretend to be a horse.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you were to ask like a little, it is interesting, actually. I can see why grown-ups ask kids that because some of the things that they say are just really awful, really stupid.
Well, I mean, some of them are
and
just
then
hilarious.
You laugh at them. Well, that's what I mean.
my friend's daughter wants to be a fairy when she grows up, and that's adorable. I want that for her.
You mentioned that you wanted to be a princess.
I did. There was a point in my life when I thought that there was nothing better than growing up to be a princess. And I clearly didn't understand how bloodlines worked.
Well, specifically, what kind of princess? You say bloodline, so you probably were more nerdy. You meant sort of a...
Like monarchy, part of the monarchy.
Okay. So you weren't thinking of like a Disney princess or something.
I wasn't allowed to watch Disney movies.
Or even a fairy princess.
This is like really little, like pre-kindergarten sort of thing. So, yeah.
So you wanted to be Princess Diana?
Well, I don't know that Princess Diana was necessarily on my radar, but I wanted to be royalty. And princess seemed like the most logical and attainable member of the royal family that I could become.
To me, though, that you're shooting a little low. I mean, you don't go for queen, you go for princess.
Well, I think it was partly the perception of like an age thing. To me, queens were like
that's
older.
True. Do you recall what you assumed a princess would wear or look like? Like, what did you think that you would get to wear if you were a princess?
Like paper bag princess pre-dragon.
Okay.
for those of you who know what that looks like. Go read a book.
Read a motherfucking book. I think the first legitimate job career, which isn't actually I don't know if it's a real career unless you count
well, neither is being a princess.
Unless you count the travel influencers that we so trashed in our last episode. I really actually, when I was really young, after the dog stuff, I just wanted to be an adventurer. I just wanted to live outside all the time and be naked as often as I could manage. And I just wanted to like survive, you know, just because I was outside all the time, and I just wanted to be outside and discover things and see things. And I guess, I mean, that's like not really a job. That was like a job, you know, back in the days of explorers and stuff. But it's,
or if you're Bear Grylls.
I don't know who your weird people are.
Well, other people listening will know. Don't worry about it. But yeah, okay. So you wanted to be a dog, then
an adventurer.
Like an adventurer. Okay.
Maybe an adventuring dog. I don't know. It's confusing.
I feel like that's back then. Still dog related.
It could be.
Like,
it could be
also
that I just wanted
stuff.
I wanted to move from being an inside dog to an outside dog.
And when did that change for you? Has it changed?
I just wanted to move up in the world. I just wanted to, you know, not have a collar on anymore. No, but that's, yeah. So after Princess, what do you think the next one you can remember wanting?
The next one, I there was a time that I definitely remember thinking that I wanted to be like a professional athlete, like a very fast runner. But I know now that those people also have regular jobs. So
right.
you know, that was only out of ignorance, because I definitely don't want a regular job.
You just wanted to be like Forrest Gump, just running all the time, getting sponsors, just running.
Would have been awesome, except I also hadn't seen that movie.
Yeah, that movie wasn't out yet. But you wanted that job. You just wanted to run and people to hand you money while you were running.
Yeah, I just wanted people to be impressed with how fast I was at running.
Right. No, that makes sense. It's you're like one of those little kids. Mom, look how fast I can run.
Yeah, exactly.
Those how high I can jump.
Right? One of those little kids who genuinely believes that they're faster than the sprinters in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty unrealistic. Then I wanted to be, well, I suppose there was a time I wanted to do, well, maybe like show jumping, like something to do, be like an equestrian of some kind.
Were you the one jumping, or were you riding a horse?
I was riding a horse.
I see. You're not the one jumping.
No, the horse is doing most of the work. Don't tell show jumpers I said that, because
right. They do a lot of the fucking work, though. I mean,
well, but like literally none of the jumping.
No, but I mean the horses do like so much. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here.
Yeah, exactly. The horses are doing 100% of the jumping.
And they're carrying around some lazy ass who's not doing the jumping.
Exactly. Carrying around some asshole in white.
It almost sounds like you had a crushing moment of, I can't run, so I might as well ride this other animal who can run and jump.
Yeah.
Okay. Clarity.
So, and then as I got older, like into my teen years, it got, well, I want to say more realistic, but also somehow less realistic. Because I wanted to go to law school, and that obviously wasn't going to happen.
Well, that's a big jump from, you know, show jumper to law school.
Well, I'm sure there were other things, they just don't stand out. I mean, it was journalism. Then I wanted to be a human rights lawyer and work for the UN. And then I learned that the UN is bullshit. So.
Right. Well.
Yeah. Don't tell the UN I said that.
I probably won't. Everything you tell me about yourself
it just bounces like water off a duck's back.
A dog's back.
Sorry, my bad. Before we also have, just in case anybody's worried that it's just going to be us talking about what we wanted to be, what was your progression?
Well, after that,
after outdoor dog.
right. After my after my promotion of outside dog, I wanted to be rescued.
A rescue dog?
Yeah, I'm joking.
Like the kind that would have that little thing with
little barrel. No, not a Saint Bernard. No, I mean, as a kid,
like Beethoven.
Yeah, exactly. But no, my dog dreams died. So no, but as a kid, I wanted to actually be a teacher, and I used to collect teacher paraphernalia and then create lesson plans for my little sister and her friends. And I found it thrilling for some reason to grade papers and guide others to knowledge, which was actually, I think, just a control thing. I just wanted to, like, yeah. I even remember asking Santa for a projector, and I think I knew that there wasn't a Santa at that point. Spoiler alert. There is a Santa, but not the Santa that you think. Anyways, besides that, Santa did not bring me a projector. Instead, he brought me a metal file cabinet.
And the next best thing.
Yeah, and then my mom she came to me and said, I couldn't find a projector for you. So I'm like, cool. So you are assuming I don't still believe in Santa, for one thing. And also, I have a file cabinet. But it was like a joint. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not trashing my mom or anything like that. She couldn't find a projector. She tried to find a projector. I was a dumb young kid, and I didn't know that projectors were really expensive. Like the bulbs alone and stuff. It was just, but I really wanted something to project on the wall and write out my lesson stuff so that my sister would have
on your transparency sheets.
Yeah, so that my sister would have to do work during the summer.
You're a monster.
I know, but it was like,
you're a very bad dog.
I'm a very bad dog. She seemed to enjoy it though. And I would schedule in recesses and stuff. And
you just wanted to grow up to be a control freak.
I think so. The kids actually seemed to be okay with it until they weren't, and then they were like, we want to go, we don't want to play this game anymore. But yeah, I actually, and that teacher thing lasted for a little while until I reached teenage years. So well, and then teenage years, I wanted to work with animals in the wild, back to that, but not as a dog. I was adamant that I could stomach the worst parts of being an animal sanctuary, where I just wanted to work with animals and to be outside. And again, outside with animals. This time I'm not an animal, but.
Well, I mean, humans are animals.
Yeah, but they're awful.
They're sucky animals. We're sucky animals.
Yeah, we have no redeeming qualities. We don't have, some of us are pretty fuzzy, but we don't have like cute, fuzzy.
Well, when we're small, we can be pretty cute. I mean, have you ever seen like a baby laugh like hysterically for the first time ever? That's pretty adorable.
But they're usually taking a shit.
Or about to.
Yeah, or farting or something like that.
Yeah, they're basically just a tube from mouth to anus.
And as we get older, our tube just gets longer.
Yeah.
I guess they're okay, but it's nothing like watching all those baby animal videos and stuff. I mean, just not the same.
Yeah. True.
Anyways, none of those things happened on a professional level. I turned out to be a loser with severe anxiety who agreed to do a podcast.
You're telling me that this wasn't your childhood dream?
To talk? No, I never wanted to have to talk at all. In fact, this is the opposite. This is a nightmare. This is like, I have to talk at least once a week with another human. It's pretty bad.
You could have said no.
I did say no. And then you came back like a year later. Okay. So who are these people that you asked these questions to?
Well, they're, anonymous. So, but they are people that I know.
So by the things that they've said to you, who are these career people? What were their,
what were their childhood dreams? Okay, well, first of all, I started off by asking people if they were in fact, like if it was in fact something in their childhood that they were asked, and was there any kind of pressure on them to
sorry to interrupt you, is that an outside dog?
It is an outside dog. Don't be jealous of that.
All I can think about are my dreams that have never happened. I'm sorry for interrupting. No, I just couldn't. Proceed.
No, the dog interrupted first. So my initial question was, were you encouraged as a child to choose a future career or profession or whatever? And I honestly was a little bit surprised by these numbers that only 57% said yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thought it was going to be like an overwhelming, like everybody had this experience, but no, not everybody was encouraged or felt any kind of pressure to decide from an early age what they wanted to be when they grew up. But of those people who did have a future career in mind, we had some pretty good ones. I got some pretty good ones. Astronaut.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a good one, and
it's ambitious. Yeah,
it is ambitious. Who doesn't want to go to outer space?
I guess
people who are claustrophobic and boring. No, I would love to go to space. We also had actress. There were a lot of people want to be vets, not army vets, like veterinarians, not veterans. Engineer and fairy, I already mentioned.
I'm not laughing at your dream.
Well, you shouldn't, because she's only 5, so that would be mean.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know you were asking children. Now I feel like an asshole.
I did. Well, that's okay. That's normal.
The question
I didn't ask children. This is just a child who I happen to know.
Well, see, now my question of how different was their, what they wanted to be to what they are now doesn't make any sense for this 5-year-old, because obviously they don't have a career, I'm guessing.
Right, and it sounds like you're assuming that she's not going to grow up to be a fairy, which pretty awful of you.
Well,
I won't tell her. She doesn't listen to the podcast.
I really hope not. I mean, I really hope that's true.
Yeah. So, but
I hope that she's the first. Well, maybe there are professional fairies. She could work in a theme park.
Right?
She could be a fairy.
I know somebody who did work in a theme park, although she was not a fairy. But so actually your question takes me to the next question I asked people, which is, for those people who did have a future career in mind when they were young, did it change as they got older? And what were some of the factors that caused them that influenced these changes? And maybe not so surprisingly, a whopping 88% said that yes, in fact, their desired future career did in fact change. And the factors that they mentioned were things like, and I am not saying this about them, this is what they said about themselves, was that they weren't smart enough for a particular career, meaning, I would say they just, whatever. It's not necessarily that you're not intelligent enough, it's that you actually, once you realize what it takes to, let's say, become an astronaut, you're like, I don't really want to join the Air Force first. I'm good. And do all that other shit. I just want to go up in a rocket ship.
Well, you just have to create Amazon.
Right. And make yourself look like a penis with legs.
Yeah. Or be Captain Kirk. Either one of those.
Yeah. So I had some responses like, I just wasn't smart enough. I didn't have the grades in school or the necessary skills. Another popular one was my parents didn't approve. So I feel like that was probably the actress.
Right. And I'm guessing the fairies would be, I don't have any wings.
Right, right. But that remains to be seen. I'll follow up with her in a few
Okay.
years, and hopefully we'll still be making this podcast. So, but a very interesting response that I got to this question was that the main reason they chose their goal for their future career was that they had initially chosen that future career for external validation because it's what their parents wanted
I see.
and not really actually what they wanted to do, which I think actually takes us to a very interesting and important underlying issue, I guess, here, which is that by asking kids what they want to be when they grow up, it sort of indicates to them that what they are right now isn't as important as what they are going to be someday when they're grown up.
Right.
And that in many ways, ultimately, their goal is just to grow up. I just want to be an adult. That was actually something, and I think maybe for more people than just myself, but I just want to be a grown up so I can do what I want, so I can do this, so I can do that. Because you know, oh well, you can't do that until you're an adult. You know, you can't do this in when you're an adult, you can do that. And so it winds up leaving kids with this
Right.
goal
So
of just aging, which is aging
right.
isn't a goal, it's just an inevitability. And so having that as a goal for yourself really is
So
unfortunate.
what we should be asking kids is, what would you like to be as a child?
Well, or yeah, or
I
just
mean, because that's what you're dealing with now. What would you like to,
yeah, what would you like to do? What do you enjoy?
well,
What
exactly.
are
What
yeah,
I would like to play with Play-Doh all day long. Cool.
right.
Play with Play-Doh.
Right, but even your and if you think about that, there's a lot more to it than just playing with Play-Doh. You're
Well,
creating
exactly.
things,
Those are skills that you can,
right? You're designing, you're being creative, you're being artistic.
you're
uh
engineering things.
yeah, you're developing your fine motor skills and coordination and things like that, and asking kids, what are things that you value right now, not what are things that you think I value right now, as this adult who's asking you this question.
Empty boxes.
You value empty boxes.
That's what children value, especially when
Or
they're
cat
big and you can
children
make
or
them into
cats.
forts.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Children and cats actually have a lot in common at certain stages.
Yeah.
Claws,
Yeah.
definitely very scratchy and bitey for that matter. But yeah, and as somebody who did ultimately grow up to be a teacher eventually, I I mean, a lot of what school is about and the purpose of school and the purpose of formal education is training for a job,
Mm-hmm.
which no wonder kids hate school. That sucks. Who wants to go through 12 fucking years of job training when you could be playing with Play-Doh or being an outside dog or a fairy?
Yeah. Those things just don't pay very well. That's why.
Or they
And
don't pay at all.
there's no benefits. And
I don't know.
that's,
Milk bones sound like a benefit to me.
well, yeah. But I mean, that's when a lot of our dreams get crushed, because the things that
Yeah.
we love, the things that we're even good at, or that we can even just stand doing in this lifetime, we can't, live on those types of things. And then that would be getting into the structure of our society, how we actually, that we don't just have a standard income for people. That gets into a whole other area. But
Well, and what we value things that make money. But the truth is, it's not even just that, because artists do make money and
mhm,
art is necessary.
mhm,
Music and paintings, and so I mean all of these things that we kind of tend to tell kids, well, but yeah, but that's not a real job. Like, sure, you can do that as a hobby, but that's not a real job. Like, what do you want to
mhm.
do to make money? And it tells them very clearly that the things that they're passionate about, the things that make them happy, don't really have value to anybody other than themselves, and that they can't survive on things that make them happy by doing things that make them happy.
Even things that normally, you can get paid for, like cleaning someone's house or taking care of them. You tell somebody that you do that for free and they're like, oh, you're a bum. You tell somebody that you get paid $30 an hour to scrub toilets and that you do caregiving at a facility, and suddenly you're this, Saint Teresa with your pockets lined with money and stuff. It's just totally different. It's just when money gets involved, it's like that's the respect factor. And I find that so weird, because you can be doing the same amount of work or even more work and not getting paid for it. And, and then people just look down on you and they're like, oh, well, you have
only
no
do that. Right, exactly.
I remember my mom giving us a bill and we were wondering what it was. And she was like, those are all the things I do every single day. Those are all the hours. This is what I would get paid if if these were all jobs. And I just remember as a kid being like, oh, my mom is not just a mom. She's what she deems like a home engineer, like, it's just, we put value on things in such weird areas. It just,
well, it doesn't count as work unless you're getting paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just simply not true.
Yeah,
it's a shitload of work to grow another human being inside your body and then take care of that human being until it can,
even past that,
take care of itself.
You really, a lot of people spend, parenthood doesn't just end when they move out. There's just, so it's
just
it's
ask
a
my
life.
parents. Fuck. They're still putting up with my shit.
Yeah. So and the scary thing is that is actually, as we get into this future, there won't be a lot of jobs. There will be more people and fewer jobs, and we are going to have to address that at some point. It's not going to just be people being lazy and not wanting a job and blah blah blah. We're going to either have to restructure things where we share jobs, part-time.
Shorter work week. It's working
exactly
in other countries.
Because there'll be so much more people and not enough jobs. So, that's going to be a thing anyways.
And also just this idea that you grow up and then you have one job or one career, and that if you're not able to just pick that one job or that one career or whatever and maintain it until retirement, which for a lot of us isn't even going to be a thing, that somehow that's a sign of failure, when really having multiple different careers over our lifetimes is extremely normal, especially now. And so when you think about the cost of like post-secondary education, it's totally untenable because people can't afford multiple degrees. Like, especially if you need a master's or a PhD in order to do a certain job or have a certain career, that takes a long time, which, okay, fine, putting in the time because you need to actually learn that stuff and have that experience makes sense. But the amount of money that it costs, people can't afford to do that multiple times in their lives.
Yeah.
And yet the cost of post-secondary education makes it so that a lot of people, if they're lucky enough to do it once, that's it. And then if they happen to lose that job, or they become, that job or that career doesn't exist anymore, what choice are they left with? And this actually takes me to a statistic I saw, and this is just for Canada, but I think it's probably, it's indicative of what things are like elsewhere as well. And it said that approximately 10% of prime-aged post-secondary educated workers, prime age meaning, I believe, people aged 25 to 54. So people between the ages of 25 to 54 who have received post-secondary education, who lost their jobs between 2009 and 2013 entered post-secondary education within 3 years. So they were not able to find another job with the degree they already had, or they didn't want to. And then of that, approximately 10% of people who lost their jobs between 2009 and 2013, 60% of them approximately changed their field of study. So they didn't just go for a higher degree, like, well, right now I have a bachelor's in education, I'm going to get a master's of education and then see if I can get a job in education with that. They just, more than half of them just straight up changed their field of study and went back to school for something maybe not completely different, but something different, which to me indicates that whatever, like, we need to be more flexible, and we need to be teaching kids that that's okay. You don't need to do the same thing for the rest of your life, and it shouldn't necessarily be a goal or an expectation.
Right.
Because it's also boring. Like, who wants to do the same exact thing for the rest of your working life?
Well, also, it's just nice to pick up different skills doing different things. I mean,
Well,
and
exactly. It's
have,
right. It's promoting more of a growth mindset, which is all fucking educators talk about, but schools don't actually promote it.
you know what I just thought of, speaking of goals and education and all this, I just remembered that I really wanted to be a hooker.
Really?
So much so, I think I actually wanted to be a hooker for Halloween. And I say hooker, and I know that people get offended by that, but I say that because back then in the 90s when I was a kid, it was like what people said, I guess because of Pretty Woman and stuff. And maybe that's why I wanted to be a hooker, but I just remembered that. So instead of being a hooker, because I think my mom thought that was weird, I instead just went for Halloween as a hooker as a child.
Which is totally normal.
Totally normal, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. I think I wore some tights and like a little skirt. I don't
Right.
remember exactly, but I mean, I also went as a baby one year, and because I didn't want to, I just wanted to wear pajamas. So, um, kids are weird, but I did.
Well,
That just came to my
kids are
mind
super weird.
because of all the talk of aspirations and all this. You know, your conversation reminded me of wanting to be a hooker. So just varied experiences, just you
Yeah.
know, different. And I think I'm past the age. I'm past the hooker age. Sorry, I'm past the sex worker age. But
Oh no, you could totally still be a sex worker.
and so I still sometimes think fondly on what could have been.
Well, don't give up on your dreams.
And
Um,
I'm totally not making fun of sex workers.
neither am I. You could still totally be a sex worker.
I just think that yeah, I don't know what I thought would that would entail. I didn't really know because I was a kid. There's this blank spot in my mind about what my work days would be like. Like
Well, which is why it's a good thing that they're called sex workers now, because that actually tells you
that
what you're
is
going to be doing.
very specific. That actually would have made more sense. Whereas back then it was just the word hooker. And
Right?
you kind of just didn't what you hooked somebody. It just sounded like
Right.
fishing.
It's
And
very vague.
yeah, but I thought it was a cool style. I thought that like the tights and and the
Yeah.
boots and stuff. It was, again, it's Pretty Woman, but I
Right.
think it was just normal that little girls wanted to be hookers back then in the 90s.
Well, I now that you're telling this story, I actually remember uh, a time, I think I must have been in grade 3, and we did an activity in class where we were asked to write on a little card what we wanted to be when we grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what I wrote. Really, the only thing I remember about this, other than what the activity was that one of the girls in my class said she wanted to be a stripper.
Right.
And the teacher's reaction was like, you can't say that. and, and I don't know if it was something about like a child protection kind of thing, like you can't have, parents finding out that your kid's talking about wanting to grow up to be a stripper. But I mean, really, that just sort of reveals the stigma and the stereotyping of that type of work, which is work. And actually, it can be very lucrative work.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
it's
And
not for everyone,
physical.
right?
No, my sister had a stripper pole in her house before, and she offered to let me, she's like, try it. I imagined what would happen. I'd probably fall on my head and die, and then I would have died on a stripper pole. And
Yeah.
no, it's very physical. Like, I have so much respect for people who can twirl their bodies around
No, you have to
on
have
a pole.
insane core strength.
Exactly. Your muscle, it's just, you watch them dance and it's just, no, I don't think I could do that. I think I would throw my neck out.
And just in case anybody's wondering, this little girl I went to grade 3 with did not grow up to be a stripper. So dream.
Or even a pole dancer, not even a, I know that they have pole
No.
dancer now, even in just dancers in general, even if they don't take their clothes off.
Oh
I
yeah.
I actually really respect women who, I don't know, when people are like, oh yeah, I'm just doing this to pay off my college tuition, blah blah blah. I'm like, whatever. You don't interest me. I like the women who actually do it because they actually want to. Oh, no, I'm not in college. I'm not doing this to support children. I just like to do this. Like, cool. Like, that's just, not that there's anything wrong with doing that as like a side hustle to get to your main, career and
But,
everything.
but I mean,
But
people shouldn't have to do things that they
it
don't
doesn't
want
have,
to do for money.
yeah, it doesn't have to be a stepping stone though. Some people actually
Right.
legit want to, dance and take their clothes off. And I think that's just, I think I like that. It's just, you're honest, you know,
Yeah.
so it's
No,
just, I
well,
just always,
yeah.
you always hear that, oh, but then she became a doctor. I'm like, well, that's cool. We have a lot of doctors, but, does she still take her
Right.
clothes off though? Does she, like, when you're in
A
the waiting
doctor,
room, do you
and
get,
that's not hot.
I mean, when you're in the waiting room, do you still get to watch her strip her clothes off? I mean, come on.
Well, right. And would you
Doctors are
would
cool and
you
stuff, but
respect her any less if she did? Or he
no,
did?
but I'd probably want her to be my doctor.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously, that'd be awesome.
What do you think of generational careers? Like, everyone has the same career in the family.
I mean, I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with it, but I do kind of wonder what are the odds that everyone, like generation after generation, just happens to like be best suited and want to do the same thing. Like, I guess it's different if you're running your like a family business kind of thing, because then at least
Mm-hmm.
you're, or not at least, I don't mean to like, but it's like I'm going to be a doctor because one of my parents are doctors and their parents are doctors and their parents, and it's like you're doing it because there's this expectation that you'll do it, as opposed to this is something I want to do and I feel fulfilled doing it.
Right. In that same sort of general idea, do you think that there's truth in the old, you'll never be more than what your parents are? So if your parents were doctors, likely you'll probably, be a doctor or in that sort of field or at that sort of level. Whereas people whose parents were maybe something a little bit more humble, like a baker, there's that old adage where you're not
Yeah.
gonna, you don't, surpass what your parents have accomplished, which
No,
obviously
that's
isn't
total
true.
bullshit.
A
Yeah,
lot of
total
people
bullshit.
have.
My parents don't have a fucking podcast.
Your parents should have a podcast.
Don't give them any ideas.
I'm gonna
This is my thing. This is my thing.
wait. So if your parents create their own podcast, you'll be so disgusted you won't want to do a podcast.
Because I didn't become a teacher.
Yeah. So do your parents still listen to this? Because I think this would be an interesting.
Yeah, they still listen. Yeah.
Mm.
And they like it.
Well,
That's the weird part.
I would pledge to be one of their listeners. Just you can pass that along.
Right. Sounds a little thirsty, but whatever. I'll tell them.
I just want to hear some stories about you that are actually true.
As opposed to the ones that I tell you.
Yes.
Yeah, the stories they tell about me aren't true either. They make me sound much better than I actually am.
Well, that might get really irritating.
It is the worst. No, I think that to some extent it's hard to, if you believe that something is utterly impossible, it is fairly unlikely that you're going to try to do it for most people, you know.
No, I think that's true. When I started band class, I got to choose what kind of instrument I would play, and I couldn't imagine myself learning all the keys on a clarinet or a saxophone or anything like that. And so I chose the trombone because it seemed really like, because it was a slide. Also,
Right.
side note, my brother had a trombone that I could use, and it would be free, so I wouldn't have to actually pay for an instrument. But that was like the clincher. But in my mind, it was like, I can't imagine. We're self-limiting. We often don't do things just because we can't imagine learning those things, or
Right. Or people outright tell us that we can't.
well, exactly. But a lot of times we are our own limiters, and it could be because of people's influence on our lives and what they say about us, and we believe it. But
right. Well, and things like stereotype threat. If you're consistently told that someone like you, whatever that may be, whatever, someone who looks like you, someone who comes from a family like yours or whatever, can't do this thing, and you never see someone who, I mean, that's why representation is such a big deal too, because if you don't see people with whom you identify doing a wide variety of things, it can be very difficult to imagine yourself doing it. It's obviously not impossible. People built airplanes and were able to fly, but like, it took us a long time.
Not even career things. Even if I grew up only seeing fat people getting made fun of and wearing old lady clothes. So I couldn't wrap my brain around a fat person wearing attractive clothes, being attractive, and ever having sex with another attractive, an actually attractive human. It didn't even enter my brain, because that's all you see is just, you go to the store and there's some old lady clothes. I mean, you have to shop in the old lady section back then. So even in something that narrow part of life, it's not even a career, it's just, that's all you see. So you don't see
people like me can't be happy. People like me can't live a life like this,
can't be successful, can't meet somebody that would love you, stuff like that. So
can't be seen as beautiful, can't be seen as successful, can't be seen as attractive,
exactly.
And that happens. It's not just about bodies, it's about skin tone, height, the languages people speak,
your financial situation.
Absolutely, right? And including things like what your parents do for a living. Well, I can't do that because my parents are working class. Or I can't do that because that's working class and my parents have graduate degrees. Right? And it's so, it comes down to our definitions of success as well, which are awfully narrow.
I have would find someone successful that actually is happy with what they're doing with their lives.
Yep.
Except unless you're a fucking murderer or a pedophile, then you should die. But
Well, right, or just a fucking
but
gross capitalist.
but if you're happy and you're not hurting other people, I think
Right.
that's successful. I mean, I
Right.
don't care how much money you're making. Doesn't impress
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. But you know what? In my experience, good fucking luck telling that to teenagers in school.
Oh God, I would never talk to a teenager in school. I didn't even talk to
Well,
teenagers when I was one in school. No.
honestly, as a teacher, I talked to way more teenagers in school than I ever did when I was a teenager. I was not popular.
If what makes you happy is to have a shitload of money, then that's your thing. You should go try and get your shitload of money. Like I also don't care if people really want to make money. That's just never been a focus. That's never been something, it's not a goal that I think of when I wake up in the morning. But I know that that is for a lot of people. So then you should
Right.
do that.
But the truth is, if you ask a lot of those people why, is it just the having the money that will make you happy, or is it what you can do with that money? And that's actually the root of their happiness, that money is a means to an end. I mean, for some people, it really is, I just want to have money because, I want people to be impressed with how much money I have. Well,
Because you can do that thing where you make it rain. Or you can have a big safe that you jump into like Scrooge McDuck.
Right, that wouldn't hurt at all.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't hurt.
A bunch of coins, if you pile it high enough, does actually behave like a liquid.
You would come out and you would blow the coins out your mouth as if you were swimming. And you could do
like the backstroke.
Yep, the backstroke and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Moral of the story is base your dreams on what you see in cartoons.
And stay tuned to our, what is it going to be on our IG when we're going to be sending out the sex quiz. I think you've already actually posted it. For anybody that wants to participate in the upcoming sex quiz, which is completely anonymous. And also we won't even know who is filling this out. Cece only knew that my answers because I was the only one I stupidly filled it out when I forgot that I was the only one with the link so far. So of course she knows all the answers now.
I know, I was really impressed. I was like, no way, someone just randomly found our survey.
Wait a second.
Filled it out. And then it was
why does this person not stop talking about fisting? But yeah, Coach so we won't know who is answering unless you say like, my name is this, we won't know.
And don't do that because I don't really actually want to know.
We don't want to know about your third testicle or your extra sticky semen, but we're,
I didn't want to know about Didi's extra sticky semen, but now I do. So
yeah,
please fill out the form.
Extra sticky found semen.
I'm leaving.
Okay.
That was gross. Why is it still sticky? It was sticky when you find it. No, don't answer.
But we'll talk about it. So anyways, I'm just getting everybody ramped up and excited. 2 episodes away we're going to have our sex episodes. So stay tuned for that. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Me too. So yeah, feel free to share your sex experiences with us.
And I think weren't you going to do a mock orgasm online? Oh no, we can't do that. That's too bad. But mock.
Yeah, if it's fake.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll have us like a celebrity guest do a
celebrity guest.
Yeah, or you have to guess who the celebrity is.
Okay. Or we could just, I don't think any listeners will want to, but if anybody does want to send us one of your fake orgasms, hopefully it'll be fake, in a voice clip, it would be, we can, and you don't have to, you can just randomly drop those. It'd be.
Yeah, now please don't everybody airdrop me fake orgasm sounds.
Just pictures of owls. Okay, we're really out now.